Hey guys, it's Dylan with TheatreUnderStudy here, and today we're going to be starting a new segment called What's in a Song? And in What's in a Song, we're going to be taking a look at different songs from different Broadway musicals and analyzing them based on their composition, their lyrics, how do they fit into the context of the musical, and how well do they tell their story. And in today's segment, we're going to be taking a look at one of my favorite songs from the 2014 revival of Sideshow called Stuck With You / Leave Me Alone. So before I get into the song, let's talk about the actual plot of Sideshow. So Sideshow is a musical loosely based on the lives of the Hilton sisters, Daisy and Violet, two Siamese twins who were conjoined at the hip, known for performing on the American burlesque, vaudeville, and sideshow circuits during the 1920s and the 1930s. The musical begins with Daisy and Violet in a sideshow as the star attraction, these two beautiful Siamese twins with gorgeous voices, and they're discovered by two talent scouts named Terry and Buddy who encourage them to pursue professional careers on the vaudeville and burlesque circuits. Initially, the girls cannot do this because they have some legal matters that tie them to the sideshow, but once those matters are resolved, they willingly go with the two guys and they go start this professional career. And they also get to pursue their individual dreams, with Daisy that being fame and with Violet that being finding love. So the cool thing about this melody, before we even get to the first lyric, is the way it starts. Because with the end of Act 1, keep in mind, we ended with Who Will Love Me As I Am, which is this really plea for love in this really kind of sad ballad, with Daisy and Violet kind of singing about who will love me as I am versus who I one day will be. And that's what's actually really fascinating. And then we open Act 2 with this light, happy melody, which and this even pulls later in a dynamic that you'll see later in the song, that these two contrasting sides kind of create this cool idea of this melody that things, while they seem happy, they may not stay that way.
Marry me, Violet.
Marry me, Daisy. Make me happy the rest of my life. Marry me, Daisy.
Marry me, Violet.
Why can't we be husband and wife?
I warned you about my circumstances, how old romances fell through. Dad's business caused my love life to be fractured. He manufactured strong glue.
First lyrics start, and it's really cool. It's just a really cute vaudeville number, about like he's like, marry me, Violet, marry me, Daisy, make me happy the rest of my life. It's like these two guys, they're performing, they're very in love, and then you have the girls who start, and they say like, oh, like Dad's business caused my love to be fractured. He manufactured strong glue. It's kind of like a joke. It's meant to be like a joke, like kind of like, oh, like this is why we're stuck together. Which is like, as you see throughout the musical, a lot of is what's most common is they kind of make humor over like them being Siamese twins, and it works for the show, and they really sell it really well, which I think is really cool. And right now, we are just in like the calm before the storm. Just wait till this thing starts to pick up.
But you persisted anyway, and now it seems you're here to stay. Dad's product has made one where there were two, and now I'm stuck with you. Oh yes, I'm stuck with you. Guess there are worse things to be, 'cause even though we can't be separated, dissociated, or isolated, at least you're also stuck with
Stop. Daisy, if you spent half as much time learning the steps as you do flirting, take 5, everyone!
So what's cool about this, just completely once again contrasting what we ended on in Act 1, we get this cute little vaudeville number where it's like, oh, stuck with you, I'm stuck with you, but you persist anyway, you love me for who I am. Whereas on Act 1, we ended with who will love me as I am. And then in Act 2 beginning, we are like, oh, we found someone who loves us as we are. And that's what's actually really fascinating. And then we have this whole persistent cute vaudeville number where you'll see throughout a lot of the show that the sisters, they make, one of the biggest things, they make jokes about their situation, and they kind of, these vaudeville numbers kind of make fun of the way, like, how they're stuck together, like also like typical girls next door and stuff like that. But anyway, that's what's cool, because it's this really sweet vaudeville number. Like it's really going well. But then Buddy interrupts because Daisy is flirting with someone. Daisy's flirting with Ray, her partner. And Buddy, straight in the middle of the chorus too, which is very jarring, especially because it completely interrupts this sweet number. It really just, it drags and it takes us out of it, and you know something bad is going to happen, and thus we lead into the first argument of the sisters. All right, once again, really cool thing from a composing standpoint, because with this we have this complete tonal shift with this bump 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 bump. It's complete. It's really darker versus we began the song with really light and airy, and now we have this like darkness. It's as dark and it's low, which is really cool because it completely shows like the storm is coming, and like if that was calm before the storm is now coming, and this is just something I really needed to point out from a composing standpoint.
A shameless flirt. You are a boring introvert. Well, I'm not a Jezebel, so you'd prefer I act like you. Afraid of your feelings, afraid they're taboo. How will your body ever have a clue that you love him through and through? Don't say that! He might overhear. So what? Why live in fear? He might feel the same, but he's shy. So am I. I despise the way you advertise. I hate your coy little act. Is that a fact?
So this is where the battle truly begins, because we have these, ever since the beginning of the show, we have these two different budding personalities where it's, you know, on one side you got Daisy, who's flirtatious and she's extroverted, where on the other side you have Violet, who's reserved and introverted. And throughout the entire show, since they got along so well, those two traits never really collided. They more neutralized each other, and they worked together as a whole. Whereas now, they're having an argument, so those two traits are butting against each other. They're butting heads. And that's what's actually really cool, is because you have this ongoing argument where Violet goes after Daisy for being a flirt, even going as so far to call her a Jezebel, which is not a very nice thing to say. But then Daisy instantly goes back and goes after her for being introverted, bringing up Buddy. Like, why wouldn't you tell Buddy how you feel? How is he ever going to know? Like, because as we know throughout this point in the show, that Violet's in love with Buddy. So Daisy really goes after her for that. And those two are constantly going after each other now, kind of getting rid of all the sweetness of before, which is actually really fascinating as this fight gets heated and continues.
I hate your coy little act. Is that a fact? Leave me alone. This is none of your business. You don't need to judge or offer advice. If you could see you from my perspective, you wouldn't like what you were shown. No, I won't leave you alone. Leave me alone. And how would I do that? Leave me alone. Tell me, where would I go? Leave me alone. Believe me, I'd love to. I need some time on my own.
Alrighty, so cool thing about this section is Daisy for the first time says, "Leave me alone," which is very fascinating if you consider their situation, because they're Siamese twins. They physically cannot leave each other alone, but yet Daisy's calling for leaving her alone. And even Violet's like, "Leave you alone?" Like, what? It's crazy. We can't. How would I do that? That makes no sense. And it's like crazy. And especially if you look at the staging of this song at this part, it's like it's not only a fight for like emotional control, it's a fight for physical control, because you have Daisy who's moving, she's trying to get away, and Violet has to follow her, but then Violet will stop, and then Daisy's forced to stop as well. And it's kind of this battle for physical control as well as kind of this battle for dominance, as we've seen Daisy be more dominant throughout the show, but now Violet's rising to meet her, and they have this butting heads, this clashing, which is really cool, and it really does change the song later on as it starts blowing up more and more.
I need some time on my own. Leave me alone. You don't know what you're saying. What you're never saying. Find love. You won't find love by chasing the guy. It's not wisdom, the opinion you gladly dispense from your throne. Why don't you leave me alone?
So here the fight really reaches its peak, both verbally and physically. And the composition shows this, because what the composition is doing is it's the same beat, so it's the same argument, but it's a lot quicker. So it's like the argument keeps heating up. Like the drums are sounding, the drums of war are sounding, and that's what's fascinating because you have these two sisters in this fight, and especially for Violet, who's been quiet the majority of the show, having her rise to meet Daisy, as I said before, it's a big character moment. It's really fascinating, and you have the sisters also reaching this verbal peak because they keep talking over each other as this music is heating up, and overall that just creates this peak of the argument and this really fascinating point in the song that's just like it really is cool and it's fascinating.
Why don't you leave me alone? Yes, that's what I'm asking. Leave you alone. It's a simple request.
So once again, we have another character moment for Violet, and it's this big change because before, yes, of course, like she's arguing with her sister, but now it's this the just leave you alone. The question, it becomes more out of frustration because no matter what, Daisy doesn't want to listen to her, and where Violet it just keeps going. She's like, and she keeps like almost like egging Violet on. Where she keeps egging Daisy on rather, because what Daisy's doing, Daisy the entire part of this section is like, no, leave me alone. I really just want to be left alone. Whereas Violet keeps going after her. Violet's on the attack for the first time in this show, and throughout this part and through this section, the reason I really wanted to review this song is because of that fight. It's that fight. It's that I want to get away, and this is what we're doing, or versus no, we're going to talk about this. This is what we're doing because now we have this struggle and we disagree for once. And that's what's really cool about this section is it is truly just a battle for ideals, but it's also a battle for dominance over their bodies. It's because wherever one goes, the other has to follow, no matter what. There's no way out of that. So having this battle between these two sisters, and especially when one's more introverted, is really cool because it's just really heated, and no matter what, it's just fascinating.
Leave you alone. I'd be fine without you. I need some time on my own. I don't like your tone. Why don't you? How could I? I hate you. So do I. Why don't you leave me alone?
Okay, so we got some good stuff here because for the first time in the show, one of the sisters, in this case Daisy, says, "I'd be fine without you," which is this big line because one of the conflicts of this entire show is should they get surgically removed from each other now that the surgical capability is there, and that's one of the things, like, do they stay together or do they finally go their several ways? And especially with this point, the heroes being at their low point, with especially because for the first time they also say, "I hate you," which is something we've never heard them say before. We've seen similar things with Daisy saying, "Why are you trying to kill my dreams?" Like, but it's more out of hurt. This is out of anger. Like, they both mutually hate each other and do not want to be around each other anymore. And that's why they reiterate at the end, why don't you leave me alone? And with this, and then we transition back into our other style, which you'll see actually creates a new dynamic in that other style.
Stuck with you. Oh yes, I'm stuck with you.
And now that we have this new dynamic given from "Leave Me Alone," it completely changes the meaning of "stuck with you." Now this opening verse, which it still sounds really happy, it sounds like before, but it has this new meaning of now I'm stuck with you and this is awful, versus, oh, I'm stuck with you but that's okay because you're not the worst. But it's like it's just this new dynamic that makes this song so interesting. It's like just completely takes this sweet idea at the beginning, it really turns on its head and shows that this is a negative thing now. Even though we're acting like it's okay, it's not okay. And that continues throughout the rest of the song, which makes this transition in this song just so cool.
Guess there are worse things to be. 'Cause now that we're forever aggregated, amalgamated, affiliated, at least you're also stuck with me.
So continuing on with this new meaning of "stuck with you," now we have this thing where it's like, oh, there could be worse. But in reality, right now the sisters are stuck with each other when they're mad. So that could be the worst thing. But the thing that's actually really interesting about this specific section is when they say, "At least you're also stuck with me," which it's kind of like this like mutual destruction. It's like if I'm gonna go down, you're gonna go down with me. If I'm miserable, at least you're miserable too, which is actually fascinating considering their kind of more lighthearted, like loving history in Act One, and then we have this new thing where it's more like mutual hatred. Like I'm stuck with you, and even the music does this because the interesting about the music is it doesn't like really flow anymore. It just goes down and it hits very specific beats with stuck with you, and it or stuck with me rather. But in the notes go down as it and even the way it's delivered, it's like it's kind of not cute anymore. It's really just like oh like we're stuck, but you don't like it, I don't like it, but who cares? Because we don't like each other. And that's actually really fascinating about this part, and that's what you'll see throughout the rest of the song.
You didn't seem to be the dream that I imagined. I wasn't smitten at first. And if the test was for the best, you didn't ace it. But let's face it, you weren't the worst.
Now, while this also, yes, is probably just a cute line, it also could be harking back to the Act 1, where it says, like, you didn't seem to be the dream that I imagined. I wasn't smitten at first, where at the beginning, it was kind of like this, like, if you think of the girls, like, almost like together, it's like they're very, like, yeah, they're in a miserable situation, but they were happy, they had each other. So it's kind of like this dream where they always want to be together, and they always have been since childhood. And then we have this part in the song where even though it's supposed to be happy, it's supposed to be really cute, it's like, oh, like you weren't the dream that I imagined. Like I see you in a new light now, which is fascinating, which is actually really cool, and especially with the new meaning, it gives them the kind of this negative view of it. And then it says like even if there was a test, you didn't ace it, but let's face it, you weren't the worst, which is true because there's still like of course a little bit of sisterly love, but at the same time, it's still right now we have this overwhelming negativity, which is really interesting, and it creates for this cool dynamic for the ending of the song.
I guess that I'm stuck with you. Oh yes, I'm stuck with you. Guess there are worse things to be. 'Cause even though we can't be separated, dissociated, or isolated, at least you're also stuck with me.
So for the ending of the song, we got a key change where it goes a lot higher. And not only does that create some cool vocal dynamics in terms of where like different places like where the guys come in and then they have this big 4-part note, which is really cool at the end, but it also creates this interesting dynamic once again where it's like where they have a different line where it's like they say we're always going to be associated with each other, and like so basically, but it's also like the idea of like anything you do, like anything like I do wrong or you do wrong, I'm also in that because I'm a part of you now, like. And especially like given what Daisy's been doing at the beginning of the song, flirting, Violet's always going to be associated with that. And it's kind of like once again, it's mutual destruction with each other. It's like because they're stuck together, and they're both stubborn. They both want to be left alone, but at the same time, they're both stubborn. It's like if I go down, you're going down with me because that's how it's going to be. And overall, that's just what this makes the song great. This transition from really lovey-dovey and it's stuck with you. It's like slightly frustrated, but at the same time, it's really lovey-dovey. It's really cute. Then it goes into this complete argument, this fight for power, and then that fight for power transitions into stubbornness with mutually. They're trying to destroy each other. They're bringing each other down because they're both stuck together. It completely changes the meaning of the term "stuck with you," which I think is really cool, and that's what makes this song so great and why I wanted to review it. Overall, guys, I had a lot of fun kind of going through the song with you and kind of giving my thoughts on it and analyzing it how I could. And this was really fun to do, even though it did make the video a bit longer. It happens. But I really like going through songs with you guys, and I want to keep doing it. So if you have any ideas for songs you want me to take a look at, then comment down below, and I'll take a look at it. All right, I'll see you later, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Stuck with you. Oh yes,